collectors and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans. Once again, it's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to the absolutely incredible contributions from all of my Optibotimus Plus channel members, and even viewers like you, we're going to be taking a look at the new Neca Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Wingnut and Screwloose. This was a set that I was excited about, but didn't want to really waste time trying to find it or ordering online or anything like that. This was a set that I was always like, if I see it in stores, I'll probably pick it up. And lo and behold, I found them at my Target, which is maybe the third time I've seen NECA TMNT figures at my local store. So I decided to pick them up. For the package, much like all of them, you got that very classic look with the NECA releases, where you have some cartoon images of Wingnut and Screwloose. Of course, the TMNT logo there. You got that nice open window that fully showcases them. And these are some big boys, specifically Wingnut. He's a fairly big guy, and it really does feel like it. Also, the package is a little bit bigger. You can see it's fairly wide, or deep, I should say. The TMNT logo right there at the top, much like all of them. Side here has a nice kind of action sort of pose for Wingnut. For Screwloose, you got that on that side, just looking derpy. Love that little guy. Come on to the back of the package, and then again, you do have a generic read-up of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I do like how some of the more recent ones have changed it to kind of go along with those characters, but for these two guys, they've gone back to the just generic one. Of course, you got Chrome Dome, Mondo Gecko, and then here's a set that I really don't have much interest in this, but you got Crown Chuck and Dirtbag. Again, it's a if I see it maybe, but I more than likely won't, because those are characters I don't really care too much about. These ones were just always kind of fun looking for me, and these two, don't care. But for the packaging on these guys, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get them out here and see how cool they actually are. Alright guys, so here we have Wingnut and Screwloose opened up and out of their packaging. And depending on which continuity you're going with, they're either allies to the Turtles or bad guys. In the one episode in the original cartoon series, they were alien foes of the Turtles. But in the vintage toy release, the bio actually describes them as being allies. Now, that's entirely up to the fact that probably Playmates got the information and the look and stuff before the actual cartoon came out, so things were a little bit misconstrued. But this is definitely one of those sets where I feel like the interest in these figures is due to the original vintage toys, not so much the actual cartoon series. And that's true with a lot of the recent TMNT cartoon releases from NECA. Now, starting off first with the accessories, as you can see, Wingnut comes with this giant blaster. I don't think we've gotten this one before. This one appears like it's a completely new one. I do not remember it entirely. Like I said, these guys were from an alien planet that tried to enslave humans. Specifically, I want to say like kids, and it was Zack, the self-proclaimed fifth turtle, that was able to kind of foil their evil plans. But I would imagine this is one of the blasters that they used from their planet. Good detail, as all of these are. It does have that fairly cheap plastic feel that feels fairly brittle, but it still has some real nice detail. You can see with the gray sections making up the primary section of the whole gun, you got some highlights with some black, some kind of bluish colors right there and everything. So in general, really nice looking. He also does come with some extra hands. You can see some fisted hands on him. He also comes with a pair of right and left hands that are more in a clutching sort of thing, which probably work pretty good for like kind of holding his gun. And then you get a right and left hand here that are done in a trigger finger sort of thing, so you can wedge that inside there. But again, like well, that's actually pretty pliable for the most part. But you just kind of wedge that in like so. Get the little trigger finger kind of right there, and then you're going to be able to have him walking around going pew pew bang bang, all that fun stuff. So those are the accessories that you primarily get with this set. It's not a ton. One part that is also included, it is specifically done for Screwloose here, is they do include one of their flight stands. These things suck. I'm just going to throw that out there. I've gotten a couple of them before. You can buy these in a pack at your local Target and stuff. You can see it's clear, so it helps them kind of fly around. You got a hinge section right here. You have another hinge section right here. This can also extend up, but this is part of the problem. So this, when you put this on there, it is never going to be straight. They have this weird ridge section in there, so like when you put it in there, it's locked in there. You can't rotate it. If you rotate it, you're going to break it. You can't do that. So the only other way is putting it around on the other side, which sucks because you can't just have them kind of floating there. And then you can see that it opens on this one sort of hinge. This one does not move at all, but when you do it, you keep it like that. This piece is just moving around. So terrible design on this by the folks over at Neca. I don't know why they did. And then as you can see, I mean, when you move it around, it doesn't seem to lock in very nicely. So that's really very, very unfortunate. It still works. I just don't like the fact that you have to have it so kind of on an angle like that, which, like I said, sucks. And then you can just take Screwloose here and just kind of wedge it in there, kind of grip it. But now, see, like you have to angle it in a way where it's kind of like that, where he can be up and down straight like that, which that works. It's just not the best design, I don't think. So setting him off to the back, taking a look first at Wingnut. This guy is gorgeous. Absolutely massive, very cool looking. Of course, very accurate to the actual cartoon. And even when you take a look at the vintage toy, let's bring that in. First off, here he is. You can see that there's a lot of similarities. Now, like I talked about, there were some liberties that were taken because more than likely Playmates did not have a full-on design look for him. They didn't know the character bio, anything like that. So they did a pretty good job for the most part. You got his belt right there with the little bat logo. Let me move this out of the way. You got the little bat right there. So you got that right on that side. You got pouches, kind of like he has going in there. Nothing really else in terms of that, but I'm sure they had a little bit of fun with it. I always loved how this guy, well, he's going to be drunk and fall all over the place. Come on, stay there, buddy. He's like, you listen here. You listen here. You should watch Optibotimus' reviews. You should do that. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Watch his toy reviews. But in general, like a pretty good representation going on here. Come around to the wings, you can see you got the little brown section in here, which replicate his little tiny wings that he had, and you got that right there. And then you got the mechanical sections on the outside, much like you have here. When you come around to the back, though, you can kind of see that they just left out the paint. The wing section is right here, and then everything else around here is meant to be that mechanical bit. So you got the real ones here, but when you look at the Neca one, they fully painted that on there, which does look really good. And you can see there's a lot less tech detail on the Neca ones, but again, that is very accurate to the cartoon itself. Even going as far as putting on his little tail right there. I mean, that's really very cool to see. But he's a big dude. He really is a big guy. The bulk of this release is in this guy. Now, for a comparison to a Ninja Turtle figure, I mean, you can see the size difference here. I really do love and appreciate the fact that Neca really does, in terms of creating an overall just about perfect aesthetic and look for these characters, do a really good job of scaling them. I think it's great. Coming in to take a closer look at some of the details on this guy, just zooming in right here, you can see the head sculpt looks fantastic. Again, wonderful panel lines with some of the little accents like right here, and then the rest of it has that nice black sort of line work that goes around that really gives a very good definition. You look at the back, and he does have that cell shading thing going on where it's a darker purple on the back than the front, which, again, really very cool how they do that. He is a little bit wobbly here at his boob area. I mean, there's some boobies right there. I love that little belt with the bat on there. The feet all look really very nice. Everything on this guy really solid in terms of the overall look. I love these wings. You can't really do anything with them. They are attached. I don't know if you can detach them. I'm not going to try pulling them off, but the detail on here with the line work and everything really stands out very nicely, especially here on the real wings. I really love those. You got the little nail thing on there as well. Stellar looking figure. Love the little grouchy look. He does not have an articulated mouth, which is perfectly fine. but it still looks really good. For the articulation, though, you do have a ball joint here at the neck. I don't know if the bottom one rotates. That's kind of hard to get to, but you get a pretty good range of motion with this guy. I mean, you can really get him kind of flying like that, which does look really good. The shoulders do move forward and back. They also hinge in and out. There is a lot of stuff going on there, so you do have to be careful when you're moving things around, but I will say that the paint freeze that Neca is known for really isn't present in this guy. One part that I would talk about is that this little wing right here came out bent in the package, so just kind of force that back, and that'll make that look a little bit better. He does have two bends here at the elbow. You can see that's one thing. This wrist in particular likes popping out, so that's not very fun, but he does perpetually always have a bend in his elbow. I cannot get that to completely straighten out. I don't know if it's meant to, and with Neca stuff, I do not like forcing things. Oh no, that's pretty good. Yeah, you can kind of straighten it out. It's just trying to see. There we go. Yeah, it's just a really stiff joint. So you can bend there at the 2 points at the elbow, which is nice. You do have the wrist rotation. They also do have forward and back, although that does have some paint freeze on there, which is kind of common for these wrists and such. It's not terrible, but it's not very good either. You do have a ball joint here, but it does really have a lot of separation there, which does kind of look a little bit ugly. You can like fold it down, but then you got the big giant gap right here in the back. So just be aware of that. I don't think there's any other waist rotation or anything. The hips do move forward and back. They move in and out. A lot of range of motion there. You have a very big ball joint there, so you get a little bit of rotation for the leg. He does have only one single joint here that I can see at the knee, but you also do have, no, that doesn't rotate either. I'm trying to see, yeah, that's locked into place. But you do have the forward and back ankle joint and then the hacky sack, so you can get a wider pose with him kind of looking like he's action pose. I mean, that's cool looking. I really do dig that. And then with the little wings right here in the back, those are on hinges, and they also rotate, so you can kind of position these down a little bit more if you really wanted to. Get that like that, or you can bring them all the way up. So kind of really whatever you want to with this guy. And then he actually does have an articulated tail. It does wiggle side to side, also does rotate. So lots of articulation in the guy, but he does look cool. I mean, he's a chubby little dude, but I think he is really fun looking. Now taking a look at Screwloose, get him off of his little flight stand. This guy's really fun, and the cool thing about Screwloose is that the original vintage figure, this is it. This little guy came with Wingnut, and it was just a molded piece of plastic. That's all it is. Good detail on it, but there's no paint applications on this or anything. It is very, very simplistic, but does look cool. I mean, obviously has that look that he had with the 3 arms, the legs, the mosquito nose, and everything, and that's replicated here, but again, a much more cartoon accurate look for him. So getting that guy to kind of stand there, really, again, very nice detail with this guy. Joints on him are really very tight, to the point when I was trying to move his head around, you can hear it. That is really tight. This section right here actually snapped off. It was just glued on, so I was able to super glue that back down. But there was no articulation there, so I wasn't too worried about anything. But his entire neck popped off just because of how tight that was. But as you can see, I'm just kind of holding it right there just to give a little bit of extra kind of protection to it. But in general, really very nice. Again, these guys were aliens. I do not really... I don't remember the name of the planet, but as I said, they were literally only in one episode, so not too overly concerned about getting some of those details locked in while I'm talking. One thing I will say, though, is that he does not come with any accessories other than that display stand, and that's okay. I mean, he doesn't have extra hands or anything like that like Wingnut did, but all of them are kind of done in a really cool kind of way where these ones at least look like they're meant to hold something. You can't, oh, I got some like paint right there. That's a normal thing. But it does kind of seem interesting that his hands are done in a way where he looks like he could hold something, but he doesn't come with anything to hold. Of course, he's got his little tank top right here that shows off his belly. You come down, you got his tail right here. That just rotates. That doesn't actually hinge or anything, but you just do have a little rotation right there. And then, of course, he's got his really cool little pants and his very sharp dress shoes, which looks cool. Everything on this guy is really also very, very well done. And, again, it's one of those things where, and I'm trying to see which way I think it goes more like that. It's just such an improvement over this original figure that it's really fun to finally get him. And again, I think that the allure of this is really kind of predicated on the fun that the original vintage figure kind of brought to people. I mean, I see it with a lot of their newer releases. But he's definitely worth, or this entire set is definitely worth adding to your TMNT shelf. Now, for his articulation, the head is on a ball joint. You can kind of get that looking all over. The shoulders here are on those pin hinge joints, so you can move that forward and back, in and out, all that fun stuff. You do have a pin swivel sort of thing going here with the elbow. Wrists do move forward and back, and they also rotate. His wings, much like Wingnuts, do have that little pin here with a little hinge, so you can kind of make him look like he's flying around. The waist here is a ball joint. So you get some good range of motion. The lower arms are all the same as the upper part of the arms, and then the hips here are on ball joints. You can rotate that forward, back, in and out, all that fun stuff. Does have a bend at the knee, although that is kind of a small bend, but you can see that you still get a pretty good range of motion. The wrists, or the ankles I should say, forward and back, and then of course the hacky sack pose. So really, I mean really very fun, and I cannot tell which way his shoulders are meant to go. That's kind of a little bit of an annoyance. You can't really tell which way they go, but I really dig this guy too. He's so fun. But there you go, guys. There's the look at the new Wingnut and Screwloose by Neca Toys. For me personally, I think that it's a home run. Granted, they only appeared in one episode, but it was a fun episode, and it created some really cool vintage toys, like you could see. I really think that those vintage toys did a really good job of kind of recreating their look from the cartoon. So they did pretty good. Now, I know this set has probably been out for a few months. I've only just now found it at my local Target. Wasn't something that I was going to go online and pay anything really extra to get, like shipping or anything of that nature. But it is a set that I would add to your collection if you are a TMNT fan. So all that being said, if these guys are ones that you would like to add to your display, as with all of the NECA TMNT cartoon figures, they are exclusive to Target stores. And now here a couple months later, they do seem to be kind of shelf warming. So if you are looking for them, good luck and happy hunting. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. And always I want to remind you that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you all for watching and taking the time to be a kid.